How is everyone? I hope you're having a super relaxing and delightful Sunday here, over here at Plainard Allies. We're listening to some soft jazz. We're feeling it. There's a beautiful human on the screen with me. Who the hell are you? Why are you here?
That is my favorite introduction ever. Thank you, Kyle. Oh, hi, everybody. My name is Connor. My pronouns are he, him. I'm the Healer DM on Twitter. And I'm really happy to be sitting here with Kyle today to talk about something that we both have a really strong passion for, world building.
Yay!
Yes.
I'm very excited about it. We're finally Connor has graciously agreed to come and do this stream every other week, so that we can actually build out the patchwork planet. We are finally, after a year of crazy adventures, on 2 different streams, occasionally 3. We have got all kind of insanity going on, and it's finally time to turn it into an actual setting book full of fabulous mythology and weird characters and beautiful interactions. And the fun thing about this, the thing that I love, is that the setting is going to be 200 years in the future from where the campaign is right now. So the people that are in the campaign right now are going to be the heroes of legend. So that's going to be delightful. So you get to watch the world being built, and as things happen within our streams, it will change the way that this world is going to look. So for instance, we are not going to put anything in about non-Ked, at least not any modern history about non-Ked, because there's a Lich Queen there right now who's trying to destroy every other country, and all the other countries are rising up to fight them. So depending on how that turns out, that might change what's going on. So very excited about that. I'm also really excited, first of all, to have people here in the audience that are invested in the world, right? And who know at least a little bit about what's going on, so that they can truly contribute, because we love it how the audience contributes to our games when we're playing it, and have definitely changed so many scenarios with like environmental effects and stuff like that. Like entire races have been born because somebody just needed to have gnomes over there, you know.
Let it happen. Just let it happen.
Absolutely new and exciting things all the time. So thank you all for being here. Connor, thank you for being here. And I want to start by asking, hey Connor, so
hey,
how much do you actually know about the world? And the answer, nothing. Totally acceptable.
Goose eggs.
Okay. All right.
That was when we were talking about putting the stream together, that was one of my big asks. I'm like, is it possible for me to go into this without knowing really anything about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
The reason being that sometimes when you are building a new campaign world, it often helps to bounce the ideas off of people who don't know what's going on in the world, to help flesh those ideas out. Understanding that when you run a campaign for new players, they may have varying experiences with the setting. They might have varying experiences with the game itself.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So if I can be that fresh set of eyes, that could be really helpful. It's like the same reason why whenever I'm world building and I'm creating adventures, I'm passing it along to an editor, somebody with a very clean set of eyes, who can look at things and say, this doesn't make sense, or what about this? Right?
Yeah, oh, you did this at this year mark, and then this thing happens 20 years later.
Mhm.
Why these seem like they'd be mutually exclusive. What's going
Right?
on here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Kyle, before we get started, hydration is very
Yes.
important. I saw you
Mhm.
pouring a tea.
Yeah.
What are you drinking this afternoon?
So I'm fancy because I drink not English breakfast, but Irish breakfast. Yeah.
Hmm. What is the
Yeah.
difference between an Irish breakfast tea and an
Um,
English breakfast tea?
I think I'm gonna pull out one of these tea bags. Oh, it doesn't really tell me. It just says ingredients black tea. So
Okay.
I think what I can taste in the difference is that there's not as much bergamot um, in the Irish breakfast, which I'm actually a fan. I do like the taste, and that disturbs me because do you know the story of bergamot of English breakfast?
Go ahead. Tell us the story. World build this mystical land called
Yeah,
England for us.
that's right. There is so a long time ago when everybody was fucking racist. There was this crazy slave trade that was going on. And in order to make money, the merchants would sail their ships from India, then over the coasts of Africa. So they'd pick up stuff there in India, mostly raw ingredients for things that were then going to be created in England in the factories. And they would pick up slaves along the way, send them off, to the Caribbean to work on sugarcane plantations. Um, this is a horrific practice, and I'm glad that we do not overtly do it anymore. There is certainly something to be said for the fact that we should probably do everything we can to stop various slave trades and trafficking practices that are still
Absolutely.
happening to this day. But what would happen is because the slaves were packed in so tightly, many of them would die. They weren't cared for at all, and the tea tea has a tendency to absorb any scent that it has around it, and so the bergamot would actually pick up the flavor of corpses, and that is the thing and then when they got it to England, it became all the rage. They had no idea what this new flavor was, and it became the most popular flavor. And they eventually, like when the next batch came over, it wasn't as good. And so they started flavoring it with bergamot, which tastes that way.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's
that's like
distressing.
that's like creepy stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm really happy we
yeah.
shared that story. I'm
Yay!
I'm also happy that Ireland has long not had such trade legalized.
Yeah.
So I
It's-
will happily drink to that. I am not drinking a breakfast tea of any sort.
oh my goodness gracious.
I'm
Is it a
I'm
brunch tea?
no. I'm drinking it for the aroma. This
Okay.
is a green tea with jasmine.
Ooh, I love jasmine, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I wanted to get the whole sort of calm
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I had a friend in San Diego who had jasmine growing all over their trellises. So it just smelled amazing all the time. Oh,
Right.
I love it. There's yeah, so I love the tea. And I think we should open with the same thing that started the whole world,
Okay.
which is a story called The Reef of Glass.
Okay.
So you can, if you'd like, go and read along with it over here. I'm gonna throw a little thing in the chat there for you. Well, hi there, Matt. How are you? There's but this is the story that I wrote that started a year's worth of crazy journeys in the world of online D&D. let me warm. La 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 la. The rainbow sea, the uncharted mists of the phlogiston, the etherway between the worlds was peaceful and treacherous in equal measures. The sculptor had been searching for so long for a new home, or an old one, he could barely remember anymore. The rumors had been whispered across many crystal spheres. Across many more spelljammer ships they had taken shape. So he chartered his crew of the best and the worst that the rainbow sea had cast off. Together they would find the way. They would chart the path through the riptides of the phlogiston to find this place, this reef of glass. They knew that they had to be on the right track. The etherways became more turbulent and distorted. The rainbow essence of the between places almost seemed to be racked by convulsions, as though trying to avoid its own physics. The ship that they had so lovingly constructed was being tossed and warped by eddies of color and reality. Her hull had been crafted from an almost dead terrasque that had burrowed its way into the heart of an underdark drow city on some poor backwater planet a few spheres ago. It had been a glorious fight, though they had lost many comrades. Glorious and necessary. The only thing in the multiverse strong enough to survive even brief contact with the Reef was the plating of a world-destroying monster. But even that wouldn't have been enough. They needed its healing abilities to remain intact. That meant keeping it alive while they formed the mewling monster into a spelljammer so unique that the multiverse might never know its equal. The prismatic sleigh, they had named it, seemed to slide across the rumbling ether as they followed the turbulence to its source. Finally, in the distance, they spotted the first twinkling light. From here, it seemed so delicate, so innocuous. More sparkles joined the first, creating an almost misty effect in the distance. But if the rumors were true, they were about to see firsthand what true destruction looked like. The sculptor called, "Stations, now!" as he realized what they were looking at. His crew responded. Planetars flew to their spots on the sails, ready to help guide the ship through a reef no one had ever survived. Baelors used all their might and their hatred to lend their ship the speed necessary to overcome the roiling currents. A circle of Illithid meditated at the prow, joining powers psychically, deflecting debris and detritus out of the path. The archdruids in the hull maintained the thick mass of living wood that was their last line of defense should the ship cease to repair itself. The sheer power concentrated on this ship was astonishing, and yet it might not be enough to survive the journey. A sparkle becomes a spark becomes a flash resolves itself into something akin to an iceberg. The berg isn't ice. It's one of the most terrifying sights the sculptor has ever witnessed. Not because the object itself is horrifying, it is not. It looks like a giant chunk of glass, coruscating and reflective. It births rainbows in the millions as it slowly twirls and dances across the interplanetary ocean. It is truly beautiful, in fact. The horror comes a few seconds afterwards when you comprehend the truth that you are staring at. This is a tiny piece of a crystal sphere. As time passes, and far too much of it, the berg gets closer and gets bigger. It's not a tiny anything. This chunk of crystal is larger than a continent, with a billion edges that can slice reality into flapping shreds. Something mind-destroying had happened here, something so powerful that it shattered an entire solar system. The currents seemed to scream in their ears and their heads as they proceeded through the growing number of shards. The entire crew knew that this was the moment they had succeeded in their mission, or they left this reality forever. Each turn of the wheel, each tightening of a rope had to be perfect, as they maneuvered through what seemed like infinite shards of the corpse of a universe. With almost no warning, they were within the reef proper. They narrowly avoided a jagged sphere the size of a small moon, only to be accosted by a dozen shimmering asteroids that seemed to be pulled by its gravity. The shards of this ruined sphere came faster and more furious with every passing second. Sails were shattered by shards of a sharp wind. All around the decks, the crew fought for their lives against a force none could have prepared for. The mind flayers seemed to be gently bleeding from their eyes as they tried to keep the smaller shards from making contact. An angelic scream is suddenly cut short as an unseen spike swings across the space that used to contain its head. The body and wings seem to float down to the deck far too slowly, as the rest of its body is rapidly turned to crystal. You hear a collective moan from the archdruids as a different spike from the same giant sheet of glass pierces the hull of the ship. The sculptor shouts, "Hold on!" He slams his staff into the deck of the ship and begins drawing on the power of every creature present. The iron golem he created so many years ago instinctively steps to shield its master from any danger. As the sculptor chants words powerful enough to shape the rainbow ocean, a shard of psychically deflected debris ricochets across the bow. The golem was there, now it's gone. There was no shift, just a new fact. He finished casting his prismatic wall in an attempt to shield the ship from total destruction. He couldn't even count to 3 before it was disintegrated by the power of the reef. He looks around. He knows he has brought death to them all. He is numb. A gold dragon protecting the engine is sliced in half, leaving a writhing tail spraying blood across the deck. A demon cries and tries to flee for its life, only to end up encased in a crystal tomb. A mind flayer's head pops with a jaunty lilting sound. He stands up straight, knowing that he can do no more. The ship is going to be torn to ribbons. Every member of this expedition is about to die. The emotional tenor of the vessel is shifting towards the spectrum of panic, but as each creature prepares for death, the debris field clears. Suddenly, the reef of glass is fading into the background. They've done it. They've made it through. And now it was time. They would find their new homes. They would all work together to harvest the secrets of the multiverse in this astonishing new place. This place of rumor and conjecture was theirs alone. This distant place of destruction, this forgotten bit of lore was real, staring them in the face. This was the place where the gods had all died. They could see it as a minuscule point in space, then a speck of dust, then a mote. It grew until it generated its own horizon, its own world. If the ancient lore was to be believed, this space had been one of the first crystal spheres ever created. Some cataclysm had befallen the space and killed all the gods, leaving only their corpses tightly bound to each other, drifting endlessly. They would create their own colony on the pile of the dead, harvesting their bones and hopefully their knowledge. They would find a way to become like gods themselves. As they neared the dark, still mass of galactic limbs, a shift began. Slowly at first, and then gaining speed. A patch of the dark loam began turning white. It grew and grew until the sculptor realized that this wasn't just a random shift. One of the supposedly dead gods had opened their eye. Before he could shout commands to anyone, they were all smashed to the deck of the ship by the sheer weight of the psychic onslaught. But it seemed it wasn't an attack. This was a message. This was a history. In their minds, a story unfolded. This pantheon of deities had been tasked with creating one of the first worlds. Each god had their own ideas about how best to do this, of course. A few of them managed to work together for a time, but eventually the minute divisions of desire became uncrossable canyons. Each created their own worlds, some dark and horrifying, some airy and full of laughter, some perfectly connected and some willfully amorphous. As each god presented their world, the others would criticize and belittle it, extolling the virtues of their own, until there was only one world left to judge. But the god of wisdom had not created a world. He had created a template. He had created the outline of a world. Its physical space could accommodate many different ecologies and materials, but he had left it blank, simply stating, "You will see its worth in your own time." He sat in the center of a congregation of gods and meditated. The others began spraying their vitriol at the god of wisdom. They shouted that he hadn't done his job. Well, all of them had. They had worked tirelessly to be given the honor of creating the first solar system, and he had thrown it away. They argued about the merits of their worlds and the idleness and depravity of the others. The arguments became more and more heated as they dragged on, and without warning, the god of destruction launched his planet at one of his siblings. His creation shattered against theirs, splashing oceans into space and lodging a few mountains in the god of love's arm. The fight began in earnest. The first fight amongst the gods was the most devastating thing the multiverse had thus far seen. An entire solar system had been weaponized. In their race to be named the true creator, these gods let their rage pour out at each other and all the little worlds they had created. This all went on around Wisdom, who waited patiently for his moment to come. He was the only one prepared when it did. At the height of their frenzy, the gods unleashed their true divine strength on each other. Wisdom held tight to his matrix and shielded it from the worst of the effect. But the harmonics of their heightened emotions shattered the entire crystal sphere into uncountable shards. The worlds had shattered. The rainbow sea came rushing inwards with its unstable energies, warping and weaving new realities from the remnants of the broken worlds. The gods looked at the destruction they had wrought. Their worlds were in tatters, and the protection of the crystal sphere was destroyed. That's when Wisdom spoke. "You must shield your creation with your very bodies. Your worlds could not have survived on their own, each without each other. But they can survive together." As he spoke, he held up his now full matrix. He had collected pieces of all the other worlds as his siblings raged. Each piece has been slotted into place as its life force was on the verge of collapse. You have destroyed this system's protection, but you can rectify that mistake. Take the hands of your enemies, hug them to you. Build a sky for your fledgling world with your faces and arms and feet. Wisdom helped them to form themselves into a contiguous whole. When the task was complete, he looked down on the cold planet and plucked one eye from his own head, placing it next to the young world as a companion, a moon to light the sky, to guide this tiny planet with wisdom. With his final breath, he took all the love and curiosity he contained and ignited his very soul. He consumed himself to create the sun that would warm this fledgling planet and allow it to grow, protected by those that had almost destroyed it. His last thought to his siblings was, "Keep this first world protected. Keep it safe. When you receive your first guests, you may finally take your place in the sky as true guides and protectors. It will only be then that you will be worthy of shepherding your collective children." As the vision faded, the crew came to stand on the deck and witness a true miracle. Across the darkened sphere of limbs and skulls, eyes opened for the first time in eons. They blinked again, and celestial smiles spread across the landscape. The untangling of titanic limbs formed into a pantheon of young gods, finally looking at their siblings with respect after bathing in the glow of wisdom for so long. They brushed themselves off and with a nod to the cosmic sailors, began to fade into sparkling outlines of themselves. A wave of gentle force passed across the ship. Each sailor turned to follow the translucent gods on their journey outwards. They were not fading completely. They were seeming to coalesce into stars. The gods were creating a thin veil of constellations in the sky around their world. Each was a different picture. The god of love, still dripping a few drops of blood. stood beside the god of nature, cupping a sapling in his hand. Each picture settled into its own collection of twinkling lights. The chaotic reef of glass still existed outside, but as a continental glacier of crystal smashed into the newly formed constellation of magic, it shattered. They had finally sacrificed their egos to truly protect their creation. The crew turned almost as one to see what these gods had been protecting. They saw a world of wonder, a single world circling a single star, a world unlike any they had seen before. This world, held together with love and wisdom, could only be called by one name: the Patchwork Planet. And that is the Reef of Glass. That is what started the whole thing. All of this stuff. So now you have that. You have that in your head. And that is where we can begin.
Awesome. So we have this origin story of exploration and sailors making their way through imminent danger, barely surviving, and finding a world that was little more than a template when they arrived.
No.
Right? That had pieces of it taken from the ideas of various gods, but ultimately a world that was made for the first explorers to find. You know?
Yes. Now there are. It's what was one of the ways that we started was the idea that what would a world that was cut off from the multiverse completely for 1,000+ years, what does that look like? And what I did is each of my players that wanted to got to create their own country and generate, like, you know, this is the history, this is a bit of the history, this is a bit of who these people are, and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's definitely like some lore in there already. And for your edification, the people on the prismatic sleigh, this ship that came in, they're all super powerful, right? Like all like 20th level plus. The highest level person on the planet when they landed was a 13th level bard. So they immediately sort of went out into the world, like sort of taking places of power, you know, throughout, and sometimes being delightful and sometimes being very chaotic. And there's still a whole bunch that we haven't met yet. So there's a lot of room to have people from the prismatic sleigh running around in the world. So yes, where do you think we should start with that?
I'm really interested to hear what our viewers think.
Yeah.
What sorts of things they would like to see us start with, because there's so much opportunity here, right? To sort of go in a lot of different directions.
Which is always a problem. Like, it's where does one even begin?
A lot of times when I begin with a setting, I like to start with certain aspects, certain things that I like to play up in the course of the world building. And so it could be something like, you know, do we play up themes of courage and exploration, which seem to tie into that origin story? Do we want to tell stories that are centered on the course of wisdom? When we were creating the Red City, we asked ourselves the question: what would a world be like if people were afraid to be exceptional? and that was our central theme.
Yeah.
And we've got some great questions coming in here. How many people survived the prismatic sleigh?
Yeah.
Geographic info.
So let's start creating some fabulous slots here. All right, so I'm going to create one doc that is going to be the prismatic sleigh, which I will share with all of you in just a moment. Just a moment. While my slow-ass computer does its thing, takes its time doing the things. The prismatic sleigh. Fabulous. All right. And give me just a moment while I grab that link and pop it into the Discord over there. And yes, so that is a very interesting question. So we have met some of the people from the prismatic sleigh. And yeah, it's not prismatic sleigh. Thank you. The prismatic sleigh. Which is, of course, because I love, things that are based on fun, fabulous little names. It's a play on, like, Planar Allies is a play on Planar Ally. And the prismatic sleigh is a play on prismatic ray. All of that fun stuff, all the delightfulness. There is, let me see if this is ready yet to be. Is this? Oh, come on. It's already named. You bastard, leave me alone. Stop being so slow. All right, so I'm gonna pop this over into the Discord. And both of you can look at it. So we've got that. So we can start here. And then absolutely we'll go into the geography of it, because we do have a fabulous map. That was created by Lewis, who is over at, I think it's Phoenix Table now, something. I'll have to grab his info again. He was with one group and now he's with a different group. So I can't keep track of everybody jumping around doing the delightfulness. Let's see. So let's start with the crew. All right, and let's make that a heading 1. Fabulous. So the crew. And I am going to do one that is characters and one that is creatures, because we had both. So the first character that we'll do is, of course, Corton Mason, also known as the sculptor. So Corton is the main quest giver in our campaigns. Corton has set up his base at Delver's Dream, which is an old dwarven mine. We can get into that later. Corton is a very special subclass of wizard. I very recently actually sort of codified it for playing. Corton is a very powerful version of this, but I codified it so that I could make other people this thing. He is a subclass of the constructor, and he specializes in fabricate and creation spells, to the point that if he uses his highest spell slots, he can create colossal things over the course of an hour. So he can literally build, if he's got the right materials, he can literally build like a 2-story cottage in an hour, like that. And has all the abilities to create all kinds of different structures, and has got all the move earth stuff and all the sculpt earth stuff. So he can create anything that he wants for the city. And there's a lot of cities in the country that he's adopted as his own country that are just stunningly beautiful, where every building is a sculpture unto itself, and every vista is beautiful because every building reflects and refines the view of every other building. He is also, and so I did that very specifically so that as we needed new buildings, that we could just have them. And it wouldn't be a whole thing where it's like, okay, it's going to take 2 months and this much gold for you to hire people to actually create this. And this way it's like, oh, you brought home some very interesting creatures. Let's make a stable. Great.
Right.
Corton is a, so he is subclass of, that's not how you spell, that's subclass of the constructor. He is a sassy old queen who is just so over it. Just has at this point worked so hard. And this is sort of the concept behind Corton, is that Corton was the captain, pulled everyone else together, and worked incredibly hard for hundreds of years to get to this mythical place. And then he gets there and it disappears. Like, he's like, oh, it's cute that there's another world under there, but really, I was here to become a god. And so fuck all y'all. There's so sort of like fell into a whole situation where now he understands sort of what's really going on in this space. And I won't speak too much about what is specifically going on in the actual campaigns, because one of the people who plays in both the campaigns is currently listening to the stream. So I won't give away all those secrets. But that is the first one, yes. There's no, it's okay. It's okay. I don't think that I don't think it's necessary. Absolutely, Saint Gregor. It could be the Chaos Boat, 100%, because that's what it brought to this planet. It brought total chaos. So yes, absolutely. I'm going to go back and see. There is. Thank you, Kev. Kyle just cast Cone of Cool on everything. I feel like it's more like Ray of Sass, but absolutely, I'll take it. Where is the prismatic sleigh now? That is a very interesting question. We have not answered that question, but Connor, what are your thoughts on this? Like, where do you think it might be? Like, what would be something super fun? Because I could definitely see something delightful happening.
So let me just say a little bit about what I remember hearing. The ship, to keep its regeneration powers going, it was kept alive. It also sounds like everybody got off the boat.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
So
yeah.
Who says it would stay where it landed?
Right.
This thing,
absolutely.
This thing, by its own nature, became an unknown quantity in this world because it's alive. It has the ability to regenerate. Nobody is tending to it. Where would it go? What would it gravitate toward? And so if you're a world-crushing kaiju, D&D Godzilla, where would you go? like what would be the place that you would end up in? And if you go back to, let's say, just about any kaiju movie in existence, these kaiju pretty much universally exist in the places where people don't go. They exist in the bottom of the ocean. They exist deep in a volcano. You know, they exist on the moon, or in the depths of a great jungle in an island that nobody lives on. That's shaped like a skull.
So we have got, so the way that I sort of envisioned the world is that, you know, wisdom grabbed all of these chunks of different worlds. And right now we're just looking at one of them. We are just looking at, we're just looking at the continent that they're on currently, which has 5 of the countries. So only 5 of the gods are represented on this continent. So there's definitely space for other continents to exist. I am thinking right now of, I think it would be very interesting if there were some sort of fabulous continent where it was, this ship exists, and still has some a sort of like hyper terrasque has been created because it's been altered by the magic of the sphere. It would definitely have like aspects of a treant because it's got this living wood inside it now, you know, all of that kind of stuff.
I'm hearing like a mecha terrasque,
my god,
terrasque meets structures that were built into and around the terrasque, and so you might end up with something that is completely alien, like almost like a golem version of a terrasque.
Well, what I'm thinking right now is that, you know, all these worlds that were being destroyed, they were all they were habitated. They were colonized. So there were millions and millions of people lost in this cataclysm, and only a few from each of the different worlds made it. What I'm thinking is, I would love if there's like a continent where the terrasque sort of, as it reforms itself from a ship back into a terrasque, and is now this giant, crazy, like reality shattering, crystal frilled, you know, wooden mecha Godzilla type thing. If the people who lived there first were terrified of it and then colonized the terrasque, as it sort of wandered around and just kept destroying everything that they kept trying to rebuild, eventually they started building like cities on its back. And now it's not tame by any measure of anything, but you know, it just sort of, it sleeps most of the time now because there's nothing left on this continent that it can see anymore. And the people on its back are small enough that it doesn't notice them. So like a whole society that's like just to take like a fabulous moment from like a Doctor Who episode, like there's a whole like church where you are singing a lullaby to the terrasque. There's a whole religion around that. Like that would be absolutely delightful. Anyway, so that's a fun little side trip down Terrasque Lane. Yeah, I am. All right, absolutely. So we know its origins are it was destroyed, or it was captured in a drow city on, I'm curious, which crystal sphere needs a drow city destroyed by a terrasque? we thinking Eberron? Are we thinking Forgotten Realms? You know, there's maybe Ravnica. Like, oh, Games and Tea, thank you so much for the raid. Yay! That is fabulous. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our very first world building stream with Connor, the Healer DM. I'm very excited about this. We are currently talking about the ship that everybody came to the world on, named the Prismatic Sleigh, which was carved from the still living husk of a terrasque. So absolutely, yes, Phantom, definitely like the Forbidden Continent. There's a reason no one ever comes back from there. You know, I could totally see, like, they hate all outsiders, not because they hate outsiders, but because every time somebody steps foot on the goddamn island, it wakes up the terrasque. They get moved. Yes, that would be super. Yes, mega steampunk terrasque, certainly. Oh my god. Yes, it is. It is in fact a continental terrasque. Yes.
Wow.
Moseying. Yes. Oh my god, a whole terrasque city that looks like Doctor Who. Absolutely. Yes. Sorry, not Doctor Who. God, what was his name? The Cat in the Hat. Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Well, if this is where we're going, is we're going down the road of this prismatic sleigh and where it ended up, and we're looking at a creature that's still alive, but the people that live on it are trying to keep it asleep.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a place that's never been explored in your world before. So we've got a lot of whole cloth things that we can do with this, right? So, I totally want to yes and your idea of people there wanting to keep it asleep. If I had a culture that understood that where they live at is maybe more living and breathing than where most other people live at,
Mm-hmm.
and they wish to keep it asleep because to wake it up means devastation, what would that look like? How would people live? What would they do? What peculiar things might they do that other people might think are unusual or bizarre, but for them are a matter, of course, for survival.
All right, so we're going to add a new document, which is going to be continents.
Okay.
We will have, so now the first thing that I feel like we need to ask is, you've got the continent of Bizarre, which is five different deities. So it came from 5 different planets. Is it 5? No, it's actually 6 different planets because of the Tritons. So it's 6 planets. On this continent, was this one planet or was it several planets?
On the continent or on the ship?
On the continent. So if the terrasque is living on the Forbidden Continent, was that continent made up like our continent of many different worlds that had been slotted in, or was that continent like one whole cloth world that was slotted in sort of by itself over there?
So this, let's see. This is a place where the dragon is asleep, or the terrasque is asleep, and they want it to sleep.
Yeah.
And different gods formed. Their worlds came into contact with these places. Would it make sense to have this place be a piece of the world of the god of dreams?
Ooh, that's really interesting. That's fabulous. We don't have a god of dreams in the Pantheon yet.
Yeah, because just by happenstance, if the terrasque landed there, that might be one of the few things that could have initially put it into that slumber. and prevented it from just rampaging across the world once it's revealed.
Ew. Absolutely. I like that. Okay, so what would that be called? So the reason we call this continent bizarre is because the most powerful country on the continent is merchantry, which was created by Joaquin, goddess of merchants, right? So this, if it's the god of dreams, maybe Orpheon. Something like
good
that.
pick. That's a wonderful pick.
Let's see. For now, it can be Orpheon.
Yeah. If you've got good ideas, viewers, go ahead and throw them in the chat.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Say, hey, I'm going to, because I'm being very bad about paying attention to what's going on in chat. There's being terrible about this. Hi. There's I should mention to the Raiders, don't forget, we are giving away a fabulous set of Phoenix dice today. So please hit !raffle and get some fabulous dice. Let's see. So Sentinelese. There's okay, sure.
So
there is
Orpheon as a working name, but so we've got this place that the people there live on a land that was initially dedicated to the god of dreams. What would that ecology be like?
I am actually really into this idea from Phantom. The terrasque was the final piece and became the continent of wisdom, which is why it was empty. I feel like it could be both, where it could be the continent of dreams, but wisdom knew that was going to be the slot, where the prismatic sleigh would end. And so yeah, I love that.
That would be a great idea, right? Because that particular piece, if you were to ask me what does that symbolize in the story, when you read the Reef of Glass, I would say that ship embodied with it the spirit of exploration.
Yeah.
And if you had exploration and dreams,
okay,
and you start putting these ideas together, you could get something close to the idea of wisdom.
I feel like, all right, hold on. So we've got Orpheon. God is, because each area was made by a specific god. God is the god of dreams. Say that it's either Nyx or Mask. Let's go with Nyx for now. And we can rename them if we're going to be putting this someplace besides DM's Guild. We just go back and rename everything.
Okay.
God, Nyx. Let's see. So history will be created with soporific flora that enhances and empowers dreamers. And this makes me so happy because there's already a whole thing in the world where we've got these orcs that used to live in Ankhed that now live in Delver's Dream, who are the dreamers. And they were all Oniromancers. And they left Ankhed as soon as the hive mind was broken, in order to sort of like wander out into the wilderness to find the place that they were going to be most welcome. So they could absolutely be people that would be like sort of the reason that we go explore that continent. All right, so if we've got, all right, so that is history. No, that's not where that goes.
Caretakers and protectors, the people who live there. I would love to see a land of people who communicate silently.
Yeah.
Through some sort of sign that because for the superstition that they need to keep the terrasque asleep, they communicate via sign language. They focus on the visual arts.
Absolutely. I would, you know what I would absolutely love? What is the cantrip? Is it colored lights?
Are you talking like dancing?
Dancing lights? Dancing lights. I would love it if everybody knows that cantrip and they actually communicate using a language of color instead of sound. That I think would be fabulous. Fauna.
Right. And the whole language is through the color of the spheres, the way that they dance in the sky.
Absolutely. Culture. This country of people living atop a terrasque. I love that this boat has just turned into a continent. So happy. Oh, I'm on the continents. Yes, I'm on. Sorry, I'm on the continents right now. Do the things. Sorry, I'm bouncing around, doing the things, saying hi. Yes, Mosey, I will start singing Rainbow Connection at some point. All right, so they are a country of people living atop a terrace who have developed a language of color and motion, utilizing the cantrip dancing lights. Okay, cool. So we've got the people created with soporific flora that enhances and empowers people. Culture. I'm going to add to culture religious practices, religion. And this, I feel like there is a temple built directly in front of the mouth of the terrasque. The priests of the temple are tasked with continually burning a powerful sleep agent that keeps the terrasque slumbering. Okay. I feel like that would absolutely be a thing, and that they're like,
I would almost imagine it, though, for it to appear like a superstition.
Mm-hmm.
What they call the mouth of the terrasque is nothing but a large cave.
Oh, all right, fabulous! I love it.
Right. So if outsiders see it, they'll be like, "Why is this a religious site? Why are they doing this?" And it may be the mouth of the terrasque, or
I feel like it could very easily be that, like, so the terrasque if it has become sort of crystallized, could very well look like iron or quartz, you know, that it could look like literally a mountain of crystal. And there's, and of course, trees and plants, because it hasn't moved in so long,
Right.
trees and plants would all have grown on it. So absolutely, it could look like, you know, just a big cave, you know. Let's see. So there is the mouse. No one knows if it is truly a terrasque. So in our campaign, we would know, because the prismatic sleigh only like literally came down 10 years ago. So it's still within the living memory of everybody involved. But if this is 200 years in the future, then absolutely there would have been time to, you know, for this to fade into myth, you know.
Which means that the people who live around it probably are one of these shorter-lived peoples, like humans, or goblins, or kobolds.
Well, let me see. All right, so kobolds and goblins, we have established, came from Lolth's realm. So Lolth's world was a world that was all Underdark. There was nothing on the surface. Everything existed underneath the surface, but that meant that like the entire world was honeycombed with caves, and was, well, it was still a sphere, was super stable. And then when it got slotted in, because it no longer had that spherical support, all of the caverns, the weight of everything just crushed itself. It all just collapsed. So there's, in the middle of the continent of Bazaar is this wasteland, where like if you step onto it the wrong spot, you might disturb something and just fall 1,000 feet into an open cavern. So most of the creatures from there were killed, which is why there aren't a huge number of drow or kobolds or goblins or things like that. It's all sort of like just the few, maybe a couple hundred started, like escaped initially, that were living on the outskirts of that area and then started populating. So I'm trying to think of a short-lived race. Oh, what if it's fairies?
Sprites, yeah.
Sprites, little sprites. I would love that. Okay,
in the land of dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can fly, so they don't have to like, you know, like walk across the terrasque a whole lot. You know, it's like they all, like, I would say they all like they definitely have very strong wings, but compared to others, because they spend most of their time flying. So we're gonna say the predominant race is sprites. I wouldn't mind like a little brownie in there, cute little brownie sprites with a smattering of brownies. Fabulous. I would love if, so in the history of it, the central ridge of mountains running across this country had a slot, had a space that was just big enough for the terrasque to lie down. And I would love.
Raider. Hold on one second.
Oh,
welcome Raiders.
Got
from
some
Mandari.
Raiders. Hi, Mandari. How are you? Thank you for the follow, Churney. Thank you for the follow, Mentari. You're fabulous. There is.
Absolutely, everybody, absolutely, please follow. Before we keep going in this conversation, please follow. And if you could, put exclamation point raffle for your chance to win a set of Phoenix dice.
Phoenix dice. Thank you for the follow, Chase, and thank you for the follow, Karoro. Yes, you can have your very own set of Phoenix dice. We give away a set of dice every single stream because we love Phoenix dice. Phoenix dice makes all of their dice from recycled materials because they love the world we live in just as much as the worlds we play in. So definitely sign up for that raffle and you can get some fabulous dice today. And the fun thing about that is that it's not just a specific set of dice. You can have any set of dice on their entire website. So stick around and we will do that drawing at the end of this stream. And thank you again for coming up. We are doing some world building. It's our first world building stream. Yay! Right now, to answer your question, Mentari, we are working on a, let's see. So first, there was a ship, a Spelljammer ship that was created from the still living husk of a terrasque, and which was utilized to get through this incredibly dangerous part of the Rainbow Sea. That ship was left alone, and because it was still living, started regenerating back into a terrasque who now has weird and crazy powers because they have been, you know, touched by the Rainbow Sea and by the Crystal Sphere. Well, so yeah, technically it is a husk because they did hollow most of it out to create a ship, and kept it just on the edge of life. So
But we're talking about, like, given that there's been enough time, a lot of the husk has since gone away, but the structures that were built inside have become part of it. And this ship, what we're detailing now is what's going on with this ship. We know the people that were on the ship departed, and now what happened to this ship? And this is where we're at in the world building, y'all. Feel free to contribute anything you
absolutely
think as we're going along. This ship landed near a nation, a land that was built from the planet of the god of dreams. And the people who resided there took it upon themselves to keep the terrasque sleeping for fear of what it would do if it woke up. And so right now we have a nation of fairies who burn powerful
soporifics
herbs in front of a cave, in a temple, and they exist largely quietly. They communicate with each other through a language of glowing, colorful balls that float in the air, just like the dancing lights cantrip, and communicate through motion and light instead of communicating through sound, with unusual superstitions around keeping themselves quiet and keeping others that visit them quiet as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you definitely came in at a good spot.
You did.
So yes, we've got the central ridge of the mountains running across this country that was created by the god of dreams had a space that was prophesied by the god of wisdom as the space that this terrasque would end up. This was prophesied by the god of wisdom, and let's get that spelled correctly. Fabulous. This was prophesied by the god of wisdom, and there is, I think that it's going to be, I think I'd like the terrasque to be continually sort of growing and sort of shifting, and eventually it will get too big for this spot. And at that point, it's going to start jumping up again, find a new slot. You know, it's like just got to find a new place to lie down. That's all. Don't mean any harm. Just a crystal terrasque over here. Gonna go lie down now. There's but
with weird golem-like
yeah,
warforged things going on. I've got wood and stone
absolutely.
structures going on inside of me, but hey, I'm gonna get up and move.
It truly is an LSD trip.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, there's the crystal terrasque. I'm really into it. And I think, all right, so let's see. So history, flora, fauna, culture. We've got, so fauna, part of that, the first thing is going to be terrasque. Let's see. This terrasque is made of organic matter, reality bending crystal from the Reef of glass, and living wood, living ironwood. There we go. To give it, so it's a crystal and ironwood giant golem, terrasque golem. That is going to be glorious. Let's see. The creature is constantly growing, and will soon outgrow its, let's call it a crib. All right, so this was the central ridge running across the country, had a space that was big enough for terrasque to lie down. This is probably the god of wisdom. I would love if all these peeps were prepared for that, because the god of dreams, had access to certain prophecies.
Yeah. Right, because of dreams.
Yeah. God of wisdom, the people inhabiting this island were prepared for the terrasque because they had dreamed it would come. I would love if they like on one side of this ridge of mountains was nothing, because I knew that's the direction the terrasque was coming from. So all of their cities had been built on the other side of the mountains, so the terrasque wouldn't see anything to interact with. It would just head right there and lie down.
If the if it's still growing, a feature like if it's near mountains, a feature like a lava mound would be a good feature, like where there's pressure building up under there it's slowly expanding very, very slowly. So they're like, this is the feature where it is, and everybody's like, that looks like a mountain, and they're like, no, that's a world-shattering monster. But I'm not telling you this out loud because we don't want to make noise, so lights.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be mighty awesome.
Right.
So we have some flora already, some fauna. I'm really liking the fairy angle. What if the holy animal, the animal most revered by the god or goddess, was a cricket?
Oh my god! And I love it. Insects in general, crickets especially, and insects.
And maybe we could have a cricket where, when light is shined on it, it sort of has that rainbow.
That sheen.
Effect, that sheen.
I love it. Okay, so let's see, crickets. I would love if like the terrasque laying down was like the key to the development of this culture. right? Everything had been sort of waiting for the terrasque, and they knew that the terrasque was going to bring the energy necessary to sort of jumpstart this whole ecology, right? Let's see. So crickets, these favorite animals of Nick's are quite numerous.
Yeah. And maybe that color shifting feature would make it a popular pet elsewhere on the planet.
Absolutely. Once people discover this place, there's these favorite animals of Nick's are quite numerous on the island.
I could see like even like royals having them as pets in little terrariums.
Well, I'm thinking,
oh,
yeah,
I'm thinking, don't know where.
I'm thinking like, 'cause I used to have at home, I used to have all these little cricket traps, these like little brass cricket traps, where, you know, it was considered very good luck to trap a cricket and then have it in there. And they're these gorgeous filigreed, you know, like brass or gold or inlaid boxes, you know, which are not great for the cricket, you know.
I grew up with superstitions surrounding killing of crickets, and you simply were not supposed to.
No.
It would bring your household bad luck. And you know, if there were, you know, like to care for one of these crickets, the superstition is to care for one of these crickets as a favored pet would bring you good dreams. It would ward off nightmares. Whether that's true or not, but you've got this beautiful looking cricket when light is shined on it, who sings this really pleasant song, and you know, it could be known worldwide before the land that it's native to is known.
So the cricket began as typical crickets, but when the terrasque took up residence, the crickets began to change due to the chaotic effects of the crystals on the terrasque's back.
Mosey brings up a good point and talks about coral as a possible creature. Now, if we have a place that's seismically active, that means that the water surrounding it, the ocean waters, are going to be very rich in nutrients that coral are going to love. And beautiful coral reefs, coral reefs off the shore.
Well, that could absolutely be a reason why no ships have gotten there, is because the coral reefs are so dense and so large that they just shatter, you know, the hulls of ships that attempt to get there. Give me one sec with the crickets. Let's see, there is chaotic effects of the crystals on the terrasque back. Their carapaces have now taken on a prismatic sheen, and their songs. I feel like we're definitely going to create a stat block for, you know, for the cricket. The luminous crickets. There is
it has one hit point and no attacks, but it's really cool.
Well, it's saying so. Like, I created one that was I created a spell for one of my characters who is a paladin of Sune, called Swarm of Bunnies, and Sune Swarm of Bunnies, and it does things like the bunnies can all sort of like pack together and like sort of shiver their ears and their noses, and it's so cute that it stuns creatures around that can see it. Just things like that. I'm 100% into that. I feel like in this situation, like if you have a swarm of these crickets and they begin to sing, that it can actually put people to sleep. Yeah,
that would be cool.
And their songs can put people to sleep. All right, fabulous. Let's do All right, so coral, I'm actually going to put that into history. And I'm going to, in fact, do a thing here where I'm going to take this out of history. Nope, we're not going to do corals in history. We're going to take this out of history and we're going to create geography. Yay! All the different things.
Mountains,
Geography.
lava mound, coral.
Yes. Okay. So we've got the central ridge of mountains where the terrasque laid down. This is Prospect Wisdom. The space that the terrasque entered was, in fact, a lava mound that the terrasque chose for its warmth and its constant supply of nutrients. Let's see, now we have got the coral reefs surrounding the island are numerous and powerful due to the volcanic activity under the island itself. Fabulous. So we've got numerous and powerful due to the volcanic. I would love if when the terrasque came, the terrasque's crystals like literally act like a key, to the island, and just as it sets itself down, the nutrients and the various chemicals and minerals in the island start shifting because of that. So the volcanic island itself, when the terrasque came and became part of the island, the coral began crystallizing in a new way. It is so I designed the crystal sphere to be reality warping, so that like all of the crazy stuff that's going on with it would just keep, like just all of the insanity would happen, right? And what I'm thinking right now is that some of those powers are transferred to the coral. So that magic around them acts sort of like wild magic, that they're sort of incredibly sharp. So there's only a very few spots on the entire continent that you could land a ship. And that there are no ports there because you can't, because they're not expecting anyone. It is now sharp enough to penetrate almost any hull, creating a wall of living, creating a wall against waterborne vessels. All right, there we go. I think that's delightful. So we've got some sea life out there. It's all still very gentle, they're talking in colors. They're burning the herbs to keep the terrasque asleep. I'm wondering now, let's look at the people. what are they in the Feywild? These creatures would be, immortal and never have to worry about anything. They just would always have stuff happening and being delightful. What sort of things, and I'd love to hear from Chad on this, what sorts of things what sort of jobs would they have developed, on this island?
Well, no musicians, probably.
Too true. There's I feel like it also would be very difficult to have like blacksmiths and things like that. So I feel like most of them would be like druids, so that you could use like druid craft to take like plants and form them, instead of sawing anything or hammering anything, things like that. So everything that they create is from some sort of naturally occurring element that can either be shaped with like move earth or druid craft or plant growth or things like that.
Right.
Let's see. So
farmers.
Ooh, yes, lots and lots of agriculture. Absolutely.
Agriculture's
Absolutely.
peaceful, relatively quiet, so long as it's not animal agriculture.
Right. There's none of that, but insect agriculture, absolutely. That's like they can absolutely get their protein from insects, instead of from larger animals. I love this. They're crystal farmers that grow flail snails. Absolutely.
Flail snails
God.
have the whole light shell thing going on.
Right.
Right, with the reflective shells that stun people when they look at them.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I would love like flail snails as like that they sort of keep them around the town, that there's just this like if there is some sort of wall around the town, what they do is they like constantly drop the herbs that the flail snails like around the town, so there's just constantly a horde of them out there, and it doesn't bother them because they can just fly. They can fly over it, so it's not a problem.
But just like beasts of burden, right? They're quiet. Yeah. They're quiet. They don't have calls. They don't make a lot of noise when they move. They have that sort of hypnotizing effect when you view them. There's no reason why they wouldn't be native to a land of dreams.
Mostly farmers. And mostly farmers utilizing, I love that, flail snails as beasts of burden. That's delightful.
There's some wonderful jokes going on in the chat too.
Oh, thank God. See. Oh my God, fairy chorus that sings to keep the terrasque to help you keep sleep. Absolutely. They will absolutely be part of that temple over there. I love that.
And that might be the only song anywhere.
Yeah, that's like sort of the sound
that
for the entire, that and cricket. Well, I would love, if the crickets are part of that chorus, like that they keep like huge terrariums of crickets, like shine a specific light on it, and the crickets will then like sing a certain tone. There is. All right, let's see. So we've got that's down in culture.
What about the visual arts?
I think there's so many.
Yeah, like they might not be, fervent musicians, but maybe painting, embroidery, tailoring and embroidery, because they use light and motion to tell a story. Embroidery could be their language, where a garment can tell a story.
Absolutely.
Just by how
you know what? I would love that. Like, and there's, it would be a situation where, like, sprites don't wear, um, sprites don't wear a whole lot of clothes, but also probably don't get a lot of tattoos. So it could be that like each one has a shawl, and that's how you determine who is the most important person in a group, is how long their shawl is, because as you add more important stories about what you have done in your life, your shawl gets longer.
Mhm.
So it could absolutely be a status thing too, that like both an art form, a sort of universal art form, and a status thing. There's, um,
I'm just talking about, are the cities small because they're fairies?
you know what? Yep, absolutely. There's, I feel, I feel like with fairies, like flail snails would not only be beasts of burden, they could absolutely be RVs too.
Yep.
Like there's like the farmers live on the back of, like, there's a little hut on the back of the flail snails. This is making me so happy.
So I mentioned a job could be simply people that go around and cast the silence spell for work that they know is going to be noisy, like silencer as a profession.
I love it. Oh my God. All right. There is, so we've got religion. Let's do status. Each fairy has a shawl that they embroider themselves. Each shawl depicts great accomplishments in the lives of these fairies. Births, deaths, couplings, and adventures are all embroidered, and those with the longest shawls are known as the most experienced and wise of the tribes. All right, fabulous. We've got that. Let's see. So we've got the people, mostly farmers. Oops. I did that incorrectly. I fucked up my little outline here. I did.
Listeners, while Kyle is doing that, this is my reminder to you to hydrate. By
Oh,
all
yeah.
means, go get something to drink. It's okay. The stream will still be going on when you come back. Go get something to drink. You might be forgetting. Fix that.
Yeah, absolutely. This yes. There's, all right, I love the idea of the silencer. So let's see, mostly farmers are like flail snails as beasts of burden and places to live. And we have got, oops, I will eventually learn how to do this effectively. There is a whole group of these people are known as the silencers, because they cast the silence spell anytime there is loud work to be done.
And they would probably spend a lot of time with children.
Ooh, yes, teaching them how to do that.
Teaching them
Absolutely.
how to be quiet, working with
Hmm.
babies from a young age because babies
Yeah,
cry,
that's true. That's true.
and they don't
I
know any
love
better
that.
yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's so there's let's see, sounds much work to be done. They are also the caregivers who teach children to be quiet. I love that. Like just a a flail snail full of little children and like a fairy teacher that just keeps casting silence on them over and over and over again. Which I think would be very interesting because, like babies, in like for a while, they'll cry because they just don't know how to do anything else. But eventually what they learn is that, crying will get them the attention that they need. And eventually if they learn that that no one hears the cry, they will probably start utilizing other things. And that's when, they just develop their innate abilities with the dancing light spell.
Mhm.
As they watch, it's like, how do I create that fabulous light? I love it. Okay, so right now we have we've got a brand new island where a terrasque, where they've been sort of waiting, they've been preparing for a long time. Terrasque shows up, a fabulous new crystal and ironwood terrasque shows up and
Mhm.
says, I'm going to go to sleep right over here. And when they do, it starts changes on the island, creating new fauna and flora that are more powerful than they used to be, and have moved towards more of a prismatic lifestyle. Um, absolutely, I love that. Um, let me go back some in the chat. The muffler, the guy that goes around and modifies things to make them more quiet. Absolutely. Yep. The silencers, the mufflers. Farmers for the ritual herbs, interpretive dance, mime. Oh, yes, that absolutely could be a major part of this is like dance and mime as their predominant art forms.
Mhm.
As much as I hate mime, having studied it a bit, I can't stand. Like I tried to get into it for a while. It's a no. It's a no for me. Um, I feel like the carvers and the weavers, though, I feel like it's gonna be less carving and weaving and more um, shaping wood and shaping stone, um, things like that. So everything would be a little more fluid with that. Um, but absolutely, let's put that in there. We have got uh, the weavers and carvers are adept at spells that shape plants and stone, allowing them to accomplish. Wow. Oh my God, what is happening to my spelling? Accomplish their tasks
Mhm.
silently.
Yeah. Mosey mentioned something in there that I was honestly considering myself. Birds that are quiet, but beautiful in appearance, especially since it sounds like
Yeah,
we're describing a tropical paradise with
yeah,
coral and
yeah.
mountains and lots of nature, trees. You know, a, a luminescent bird, a bird
Yeah,
that lights up.
I love it.
It doesn't even have to
There's,
do anything cool other than that. But that's cool
let me
enough.
see. All right, so first, let's do, so people, all right, so under culture, I'm then going to do, um,
Yeah.
oops. I did something wrong there. I'm gonna I'm gonna get better at this eventually. Um, there's, all right, so also in culture is going to be the arts.
Mhm.
Arts. Predominant arts are um, dance and embroidery, or dance and embroidery. And now we go pop up to some fauna and we say, yes, I love that. Luminescent birds. These birds seem typical when out in the wild, though they have gorgeous plumage. But when they get near the terrasque's magical field, the oils on their feathers begin to glow. I would say a single feather from one of these birds can be used to create a detect magic potion. I love that. Love that. Like everything on the island sort of interacts with the terrasque's magical field as things happen. Let's see, there is giant insects, grubs, and what is livestock. Absolutely, absolutely. I feel like in this case, if they're all fairies, it doesn't even need to be like giant insects. It can just be regular insects. Like they keep swarms of insects because they're very easy to keep alive and they provide a lot of protein. You know, so there's town flasher, think town crier, and get your minds out of the gutter. I won't get my mind out of the gutter. I simply won't do it. But absolutely. A city small because they are fairies. Absolutely. I think for a city of 1,000 fairies, it's still going to be bigger than a couple meters. You know, like it's still going to be a couple miles wide, especially for creatures that are flying creatures.
Yeah,
You
unless they
know,
live on top of each other. If they build their
absolutely.
homes on the sides of trees, then it could be in a very small geographic area. It just sort
Yeah.
of goes up.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. All right, let's figure that out. There is people culture. Well, I think that would that be under culture?
Sure.
I think
Sounds
so.
sounds about right.
Okay, so status arts, um, living, all right. Oh, no, let's say geography because we're talking about cities. Um, uh, the cities of the fairies are built into the large trees that dominate the island. These trees require a huge amount of room for their root structures to expand. So no two trees are less than 1 mile apart. What are they called? What are these trees called? What is it? What's going on? I feel like, what's a fun fairy name for something? Fun fae name. Uh, let's see. I want to say,
Skyscraper keeps coming into mind. But,
right?
um,
Oh, the sky gougers. I love that. I feel like they were sky gouger trees. These sky gouger trees can grow up to, let's say, well, how tall is a redwood? Redwoods can get up to like I want to say 400 or 500 feet tall.
a quick search says that that redwoods grow up to, it says 200 to 240 feet, diameters of 10 to 15 feet.
Yeah.
But exceptional specimens, it says, grow up to 350 feet. And if the land is infused with this magical energy, there's no reason why we couldn't have a tree like that.
Tree at 500 feet.
Yeah, and I might even consider going with something more similar to a palm or a fern, a giant fern, which
giant 500-foot tall
fern.
Oh my God!
Because they have ferniferous trees that maybe that's a good match.
Yeah, absolutely. And this would be more of a primordial thing, and that's what we had for hundreds of millions of years before we got the trees that we've got now. Ooh, that could be really interesting. Grow up to 500 feet tall.
It would feel different, right?
Yeah.
Seeing something like that, and not describing leaves as we know them, or even needles, pine needles, but saying that like giant fronds that grow up.
So I actually like the palm thing, because as the palms grow, you get like they break off and they create these tiny little ledges, and each of those ledges could be where a little building is built. So as the thing grows, the city expands to fill so it looks like there's just this whole thing is just covered, in the buildings of these creatures. I really like that. These sky gouger trees can go looking like huge palm trees. Each can accommodate up to, at 500 feet tall and really round. And that makes sense too, because palms, their roots, they'll have their taproot, but then most of their roots actually expand just underneath the surface instead of digging down. There's, I would say, 500 feet, you could probably easily get 10,000. There would be 10,000 of those little ledges where the fronds have broken off over the years. I would say, yeah,
but there'd only be so many that reasonably could, and they'd have to be built with some balance in mind.
Absolutely. Well, that's why I'm thinking that as soon as one breaks off, you build the next building on top of it, so that that weight is absolutely balanced there, and that most of your stuff is being built by shaping the tree itself. There's how many? Let's say each tree can accommodate, let's say 5,000. Let's say 5,000 residents. I like that there's just the whole city's just on the tree. And then the next town is a couple miles away over on the next tree. So each tree would have its own name. Which seems very fey to me, that every tree on the island has a name. There's, I love that. All right, so um, let's see. Legumes are banned. Um, can't be eaten because, noise. Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense to me. Um, ooh, I like that idea where some family history would be on a shawl. Like if you had an ancestor that did something amazing, was like the high priest or something, that would go on every shawl that came after it. So some families have longer shawls at birth. That makes me so happy too. I love the idea of silencers makes unnatural magic really hard to use. There's one part Fae, one part Victorian England, pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Can shut the fuck up be a greeting? I feel like absolutely like the greeting is like three pulses with a red light. Like that's stop. Like there's uh, let's see. If you hit a mime, are they allowed to yell? I mean, sure, if you hit anyone, they should probably yell, and you should probably, be taken somewhere where you will not be hitting anyone else. There's bees create prismatic honey. Oh, that's an interesting concept. Like, what would the bees here actually generate? Um, is it some sort of prismatic delightfulness? Um, I'm What are your thoughts?
Hmm.
I'm very curious about what that would look like. There's oh my god.
Yeah. Uh, you know, the wow. What if because honey crystallizes as it dries?
Yeah.
There's no why couldn't it crystallize into a beautifully colored sweet?
Oh yeah. There's like a golden glow that changes color in the light. Absolutely. All right, cool. So we've got all right, I do like that. Luminescent birds. Um bees here create honey that crystallizes quickly into golden golden candies that give off prismatic shine when held to the light. Absolutely. I love that. There's yes, Phoenix Hydra, we are having a stream today. There is I'm very glad that you are watching on your personal. I love it. It makes me very happy. There is let's see. I love the idea of wild magic that encourages silence and light. Absolutely. Hey gang, hey Joel. How are you? I hope you are having a fabulous, fabulous day. Um yeah, no, there will be no hammocks here, very sadly. And I know Mosey, you're very upset about that. There's skyscraper tree cities, but large things can't even get in. No, that's legit. Like, if you're a larger person, like if you're a human, you would definitely need to they'd have to set up sort of like camps at the base of these trees. I have this image now of all of these big spiders sort of running up and down the trees doing errands for the various fairies.
Or monkeys. Monkeys are delightful.
Oh my god. Oh,
monkeys are so
monkeys. Cute. Little monkeys.
Monkeys.
Are there predators? That is a good question. I feel like in a land of dreams, uh, probably, honestly, I'm going to say probably not. The God of Dreams, I can't imagine why the God of Dreams would set predators out who would go after the people that were dreaming. Like, I could see, like, in dream predators, you know,
Oh yeah, because
you
everything
know,
sleeps, and when things go to sleep, that could be the time that they're attacked by predators,
yeah, absolutely. Um, there's,
like nightmares.
yeah, like that the real world is perfect and beautiful and delightful, and the dream is where the real adventure happens on this island. um let's see, there's, okay, so let's look at this. um uh Predators, there are no known physical predators, but there are many predators that feed off the dreams of the inhabitants. I would love if, like, there is sort of a mirror island in the dream, and it keeps its coherence because, like, half the island is always dreaming. You know, that there's like certain families sleep in shifts, and it's just what they've always done. You know, and that the terrasque now is, like, in dreams, is now sort of a protector of the island. And which would be another reason to keep it asleep. That's right. If you want to go hit up our Ko-fi to name one of the tree cities, you absolutely can. I will put the Ko-fi link there. If you would like to support this fabulous world that we are building, Joel, signing a treaty will get you banned. It will, that astonishing level of dad joke that hurts my soul. There is absolutely, like, I feel like the flowers, we've got so many prismatic things at this point. I feel like the flowers don't necessarily need to be prismatic, but they're just every imaginable color of flower, you know, happening all over the islands. Monkeys are the predators, but not on purpose. Accidental monkey predators. Yes. Sometimes they just randomly smash some poor fairy's house. That makes me happy. All right, so I feel like we've got, like, some a pretty good sense of, like, the fauna here on the island, who the people are, a lot about their culture and the geography of the island. I'm really excited about that. What do we need to expand on here, do you think? Anything jump out at you that we haven't really jumped into hardcore yet? Oh, their government.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely a thing. Geography. All right. Government. How do they govern themselves? How does that work? I feel like this would be, I feel like it would be sort of a plutocracy, where the people who have the most powerful dreams would be the ones that are listened to, you know, with sort of shades of how long is your shawl, you know, being social currency there. You know, there's um, I love the yeah, tree city states. Absolutely. There's very, I mean, it's very Grecian in that, um, you know, where it's like you had, um, like if you look at Greek city states, um, their myths and their legends really ruled what, like, who they were culturally. Um, and it was like if you just look at like two of the biggest heroes, Hercules um oh god, what was um the one that went to defeat the Minotaur.
Perseus?
um no, that he went to go defeat the Kraken. No, Achilles
Jason.
wasn't it either. No, Jason was the
Not
Argonaut.
Theseus.
Theseus, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Theseus was the one who went to go defeat. So if you look, so Theseus was like the hero of Athens, right? And Theseus was all about figuring out an interesting way to solve the problem, right? He was strong and he was a great warrior, but also he used his brain to solve most of his problems. Whereas like Hercules was the hero of Sparta, where Hercules wasn't terribly bright and used, you know, physical strength to solve literally everything. Everything could be defeated, including nature, you know, if you just sort of beat it up hard enough. There's, um, and so this could absolutely be it too, that there are specific places, um, like certain trees, where they are the people that believe that having, you know, fabulous dreams, you know, of culture and delightfulness, um, could absolutely be their thing. And then other like dream warriors in one city that sort of like try to defend the dreamscape from these predators that are in there, things like that. I'm looking at all of these. Okay, Achilles was the son of I think it's Leto, um, uh, who dipped Achilles into the river. I think it was the river Styx, when he was a baby, giving him became invulnerable to damage, except on his heel where his mother was holding him, which is why you have an Achilles heel. But they were a hero in the Trojan War. Perseus was the one that got cast off by his mother, or got cast into a coffin with his mother, and set out on the sea so that the king would not be responsible for their death and anger Poseidon, because he was a child of Poseidon, who killed Medusa and also killed the Kraken and married Andromeda. And Icarus was the son of Daedalus, who did have something to do with the labyrinth of the Minotaur, as Daedalus is the one that actually built the labyrinth to contain the Minotaur. And Icarus was the son who, when they were escaping a tower together, they made wings of wax and fallen bird feathers. And Icarus flew too high, got too close to the sun, and melted the wax and fell to his death in the ocean. Yeah, you are correct. You need to double dip your children. Absolutely.
But don't double dip your chips, because that's just gross.
No, that's gross. That's how like, I don't want to start any conspiracy theories, but that's how coronavirus started. Okay. Someone double dipped and then pandemic. Like, that's
it's not even nearly as much a conspiracy theory as everybody thinks. It just started with something really gross that you shouldn't do.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah. Especially in public, like at a party, like why don't you just absolutely not do these things? Oh my gosh. Okay. So government and ruling. So government is going to be, we need to, ruling class. I'm going to say that like the most important people on the entire island are going to be the priests, because they're the ones keeping the terrasque asleep. So they would be like that is where, and I feel like
Maybe like a
they might,
theocracy.
yeah, there is, but I feel like, I feel like the priest just wouldn't care about anything except keeping the terrasque asleep. So maybe there's a sort of dual ruling role where like the priests are the ones that you just don't ever question. Like if the priests tell you to do something, that's it, because they're trying to keep the terrasque asleep. So, but they rarely sort of leave their temples. Like if you join the priesthood, you're never coming back out. You know, there's ruling class.
Ooh,
Ruling
what
classes.
what about a parliament of the trees, where each tree city can choose one person,
Oh,
and they
yes.
gather together at some feature somewhere, and then when they hold a parliament, it's nothing but a bunch of glowing lights.
Yeah.
Almost akin to like a rave,
Uh,
but a lot less fun.
oh my God. I would love, all right, hold on. Let me get the priest done and then we will absolutely jump into that. Priests are never questioned once you enter the priesthood. You never leave. They are in charge of keeping the terrasque asleep and are therefore the most powerful people on the island. Then there is what do you call the Parliament of Trees?
Yeah, the Parliament of Trees.
The Parliament, I have no idea how to spell that. Parliament of Trees. It is absolutely incorrect. Oh, it was almost right. I just switched 2 letters. Okay. The Parliament of Trees. Each tree, city, state sends one representative to the event each year. Issues facing the entire island are discussed in dance and lights.
Yeah, and you know how noisy a parliament gets, like how absolutely noisy a parliament gets? Could you imagine how noisy a parliament of light speakers would be?
Yeah.
It'd just be lights flashing everywhere, like a fireworks
show. Issues facing the entire island are discussed in dance and lights. It is known as the Cascade of Stars. It is known as the Cascade of Stars. As if you are not used to attending, you will need to make several wisdom saves or be entranced / blinded on a regular basis. I absolutely adore that. All right, let's head back over
to a mass argument among fairies. A blinding light show.
Absolutely. Let's see. All right, we did double dip our children. I think loud would absolutely be a swear word. Like you know how it used to be, like when you look at someone and be like, that's a very loud shirt. Like I feel like looking at like a mother and being like, you've got a very loud child. Like would just be something that you just would not say in public.
Somebody fetch the silencer.
That's right. Hello, I am Tal Maru. I'm an old, kind of funny looking. I've been known to tell bad puns in public. People tell me that I am like a mushroom. You might think that this is because I am a morel or fun guy. Sure, but really it's because you find me in your fridge eating the things that we're saving for late night snack. Welcome, Tal Maru. I don't have a whole lot in my fridge right now. I do need to go shopping. Is it because were you in my fridge? Were you scrounging the other night? There is yes, it's absolutely like a rave. It is burning down. I feel like I don't want to say like burning fairy because it's too close to like, what we used to be called. So I'm like, I'm gonna step away. I appreciate the thought. I'm gonna step away from that one personally. The entire island does need an epilepsy warning. Like there's absolutely 100%. It will destroy everything. It will ruin your life. All right, so we've got our Parliament of Trees. We have got this is how they make decisions. The ruling classes are the priests and the people at the Parliament. Let's go to the next one. So the next one would be those with longer shawls are generally considered the upper class. This sadly is a self-perpetuating situation, as those with longer shawls have more opportunities for great deeds due to the wealth and privilege of their families. I feel like that would definitely be something that could be baked in to the society. That's sort of, like there is no, I don't like trying to create like perfect societies where things are balanced and delightful and everything is fine, because that doesn't really lend itself to super interesting stories. If there is something like some sort of thing that can be struggled against in certain societies, I feel like that tends to create more interesting dynamics between internally in a society, and something to overcome, So it could very well be that like in this time, like there is an effort to change that, to have people. What I would love if there was like a thing where every child from a privileged house had to spend 2 years helping a farmer, or like switching places with them.
like a required civil service.
Yeah, well, it's like, or like required fostering, where it's like you give your child to some other like, to a different tree. You have to send your, it's an exchange students, where like for 2 years during your education, you have to go to a different tree and experience a different way of life from the tree that you grew up on. And that'll include like I feel like there would be, like a tree that would be around like super fertile land. And that's where like the agricultural center of the island is, there is, and then some place where they're amongst all the crags and the rocks, and that's where the warriors grew up, you know, like based on sort of their experience. How do we feel about that? About like a fabulous exchange program to try to eliminate the huge differences between that had been sort of existing in that culture for a long time.
I think that would be wonderful. I think it'd also be a way to create peace,
Yeah.
to foster just a sense of peace. They have a bunch of things because war is noisy work. So they have ways to create peace among themselves. And maybe part of it is that your children go live at other trees.
Don't start a war.
You don't have big families living in one tree.
Yeah.
Your children must move to another tree.
Oh, I love that. I love that. To combat this, laws were put in place.
Or even just customs.
Bidding.
Custom.
Yes. Customs were developed. I like that. Customs were developed. I can do this. I can do simple tasks on a word processor.
It's hard.
To combat this, customs were created forbidding a child from living in the same tree as their parent. This fostered a renewed age of peace and prosperity as city-states no longer warred with each other to avoid the death of family members, and merchants would travel more often between trees to visit various family members. I want now a flail snail cruise line where it's like getting someplace super fast is fine and it's easy, but if you want to go in luxury, you know.
Oh yeah, you would have to have some means of conveyance if you're taking goods from tree to tree. Flail snails would provide it.
Absolutely. There is flail snails have become a luxury form of
the flail snail trail. Dang it, Mosey, stop it. And by stop it, I mean keep going, but stop it.
Right. Flail snail trails.
I'm going to call it FST, or I'm going to keep giggling this entire stream.
Are common now and crisscross the continent, almost considered a rite of passage. Many young fairies will book tickets on these incredibly luxurious rides that provide meals, entertainment, and many other amenities for the month-long journeys between trees. I love that it's like luxury here is not like, luxury in America is being able to have a really nice first class seat, right? Like that's like if you're talking about going across the country, the most expensive ticket is a first class plane ticket, getting there faster than anybody else. Whereas here, because they can all fly anyway, they could get there in a couple minutes if they really wanted to. Like luxury is being able to say, I've got nothing to do for a month.
Uh-huh. It would take a really long time on flail snail.
I love it. Talmaru, you flail snailed your party on Friday? Yes, they are great fun. I love that so much. Something girl I knew in college. Absolutely, that's right. But she went so she went over to, the fronds, poem. Whereas you took the flail snail over to the craggies. It's different, which is just a whole different aesthetic. All hail the flail snail trail. That's right. I'm glad you agree, Joel. The same way that luxury apartments used to be on the bottom floor before elevators. Yes, that's right. You didn't have to walk anywhere. I love it. That makes me so happy. Okay, so we're going to do about 20 more minutes today. So I want to make sure that everybody is entered in the dice giveaway. So hit !raffle, and we will do that up when it is time, when we were about done. And what do we need to do to sort of, not that we're necessarily closing the book on this, but I feel like we've got a super strong setup for this whole continent, to be able to then, when we dig into it, start digging into various NPCs and people. I definitely want to know who the high priest of the temple is, and at least 2 people that hate them, for different reasons, right? I want to know who some of the people who attend this, the Parliament of Trees are. I'm going to want to know, what are the trees named, and how many are there? Is it that there's 100 cities on this island, or is this that there's 10 and they're all seats of power, for different things?
Are there twin cities where 2 trees right next to each other?
Oh my God. Where it's I would love one where it's there's 2 trees right next to each other that should not be able to exist, and they're so tall that they sort of started leaning into each other. It's this fabulous arch that's 500 feet up.
That would be delightful.
There's
I would like to know more, because nothing can really exist without predators. I'd like to know about the nightmares that exist.
So that's the thing. I feel like we need to. We will put on our list of things to look at. I feel like the dream ecology of this is its own day. That's a whole thing, because I feel like they literally are going to live half their lives in the world and then half their lives in dreams. So it's going to be just as important as all the stuff that's happening out here. So yes, I want to know about those predators too, but I think that that'll start a much longer conversation.
Mm-hmm. There's one thing I would really love to see in this world, and it has very little to do with anything that we're talking about. When we're talking about ecologies, though. We talked a little bit about the coral. We talked about some of the creatures that live on the land. What about the creatures that live in the sea?
Ooh, yes. The things in the sea.
Things in the sea.
What?
I'm really fond of kelpies, and I don't think kelpies get enough attention.
Oh, yeah.
Half horse, half fish.
Yeah. I don't think I've got any of those in my world yet. So absolutely. Let's do some.
And that would be a way to navigate through the coral, because they're smaller.
Yeah, there is. Okay, so we've got, all right, so, well, that could absolutely be too, like when there are, I feel like there need to be not only, like that there wouldn't just be industries on the land, that there would be industries in the water too, you know, like where like the mining, I would love if it's like mining doesn't happen above ground because it's too loud, like they mine the coral, like the coral absorbs the minerals from the volcanoes and then they mine the coral so that the sound doesn't reach the terrasque. There's, all right, so we've got kelpies. Um, these aquatic creatures help to both navigate the coral mountains around the island. They actually develop and maintain the various coral thoroughfares. And then let's do, would that be geography? I feel like culture. Would it be culture? Probably. Culture, it is going to be industry. No mining above the ground. All mining is done in the coral mountains that surround the island. Fabulous. I love that. What else? So we've got fabulous kelpies. Yes, kelpies are super cool. There is, yeah, I do love a good aquatic snail. Oh damn! Sensei just rated us with 23 people. Well, welcome to the Planar Allies stream called Wonders of the World. We are world building the Patrick Planet, which is our homebrew setting. Welcome. We have created an island of fairies and other fae creatures that exist on this fabulous space where a terrasque made of a special terrasque made of crystal and ironwood has bedded down amongst the volcanic fields of the mountains and has altered the ecology pretty dramatically of these fae creatures on this island, who are all worship the god of dreams and live half their life in dream and half their life here on our patchwork planet, but whose religion also includes burning fabulous soporific herbs in order to make sure that the terrasque stays asleep. So welcome. Please hit !raffle to enter our raffle to give away fabulous Phoenix dice today. And we are very excited to have you here. If you would like to join our conversation, please do. We've had such fabulous input from the crowd today. Like, I am so excited about some of these ideas that have happened. And it's so nice because getting to sort of crowdsource inspiration is just amazing. It's not something that I've experienced before. So yes, thank you everybody in chat for all of the fabulousness that you have been giving us this whole time. So what are some things that we have that we should help out with? What are some things that we need to define a little more? Some things that are going to be fabulous. We've got, flora. We've got nothing on flora.
Except for the trees.
I need to add that, apparently. There is, so we've got
Our sky gouger palms.
the sky gouger palms.
The soporific herbs, which we haven't detailed.
Yeah, the cities of this island are built into the 500-foot tall palm trees. Each palm is situated at least a few miles away from each other palm. Yeah, so what are some, I feel like there should be like different styles, like different types of plants will give you different kinds of dreams. Like, oh, you know what? I would love if like different mixtures, they've learned that different mixtures of different plants will send you to different parts of the dream realm. Like there's some that are really strong that'll send you almost all the way to the far realm, you know, that like that far down into the dream space. There is definitely, food, absolutely. We have not talked about. So let's chat about, so we've got sky gouger palms. Let's talk about, I want to do like 3 different kinds of plants that'll put you to sleep. So let's do a moss first. What kind of moss? What would we call a sleepy moss? What's delightful name for that? I feel like something having to do. I feel like I want to say something just like sapa moss, you know, for soporific moss, but it's just. I feel like that's way too cheap, you know.
Rock slumber.
The what? Black slumber?
Rock slumber.
Rock slumber.
Because moss grows on the side of rocks, right?
I love it. We've got rocks.
Some sloth moss was listed.
Slumber. Ooh, sloth moss. I do like that soft O in the middle of both of those words.
That is wonderful.
I think.
I like that.
Let's do some sloth moss. And let's see. So we've got sloth moss. Also, Raiders, thank you for coming, and don't forget to follow and say hi. Yeah. And come back when we actually get to play in this world.
Yeah.
Like
follow the chat. Keep the conversation going on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Come and say hey in all the different ways. So sloth moss, I want that to be like the most common. So the most common type of sleeping herb. This moss can put someone into a gentle sleep almost immediately. There is let's do a nice flower. I feel like
an orchid.
Oh, yes, I don't have orchids in my world yet, and I need them because they are delightful. Orchids make me so happy.
They're difficult to cultivate.
They absolutely are.
So it could be something that's more potent or rarer in its own way, but worth the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. We've got Orpheon. It could be the Orpheus orchid. It grows only here on this island, on the island of Orpheon.
Or Orpheus's kiss.
Ooh, slut.
Oh. Don't call me
Orpheus
something I
kiss.
claim, Kyle.
Right, that's right. I am very sex positive. Orpheus's kiss. This bloom is very hard to maintain, but creates the most powerful sleeping agents. When used in a potion to help you sleep, it gives you a larger amount of agency in your dreams than other types of soporifics, allowing you to change the dreamscape in novel ways. And maybe like a nut or something, or maybe something from the sea.
I was going to say a kelp, like a lacy
Yeah,
kelp.
I like it. Lacy kelp, you said?
Like a lacy kelp, like that would look interesting, you know, in the way it grows, because it sort of has holes through it. But that I was thinking a kelp and maybe even a mushroom.
Oh, I feel like we need to hit mushroom up. I feel like that's definitely a thing.
I feel like we're missing something if we don't have some sort of mushroom also.
Absolutely.
But a kelp, you know.
All right, what would it be? Okay, so if it's gonna be lacy, there's a suggestion in chat called lyre flowers. I feel like lyre kelp would be fabulous, where like it sort of grows and it, like you see, it like has like little strings, and then it'll have like the next layer, and then there'll be like little strings. So if you cut it off, it looks like a lyre. There's I think that would be delightful. Let's see, we've got lyre kelp. This aquatic plant helps to calm nightmares, giving you advantage on your checks with them.
Yeah. And I love the idea of a puffball mushroom. And somebody mentioned false death as the name of something.
Ooh, yeah, a false death orchid.
Yeah, but a false death mushroom, where when you take it, you don't wake up.
Ooh, yes, it'll keep you in the dream. Okay. All right, so follow me down the rabbit hole on this. What if it is what if the false death mushroom is both a blessing and a curse? It can be both a blessing if you need to do something, but also can be like their prison. So in order to make sure that their prisoner, like if somebody does something terrible, that they can be sort of put away without being harmed, the false death mushroom will actually like invade your esophagus and will send out tendrils through your mouth and your nose, absorbing nutrients from the area around you and keeping you alive, but also keeping you sleeping until it's removed with some sort of antidote.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Fabulous. So this is the false death. This puffball mushroom blows its spores into the nasal nasal cavities of those that are nearby when the puffball explodes. While the spores grow, they put the subject to sleep by injecting various chemicals into their bloodstream. The mushrooms grow cilia that begin to transfer nutrients from the surrounding environment into the bloodstream of the unconscious person, thereby keeping their victims alive but unconscious until an antidote is administered. I really like that one. That's I feel like that's delightful. That's a little bit of delight right there.
That's wonderful. I think that is a great place to end this stream, because
yeah,
now I'm really excited about what we're gonna do next, right?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, there's so much that we like. It just needs to be defined, of places that we've already been. Like, just, we need to explore. We need to go and explore Joaquin Spiral and Delver's Stream and Duopolis and Nankin and all of the places. But thank you. I'm so excited that so many people showed up today for our first one.
Yeah.
This is amazing. It had such amazing ideas. Before we go though, everybody hit !raffle, because we're about to give away some dice. Yay, dice!
Yep.
And next, I'm going to go and check and make sure that that Bards and Brews, they should be starting up pretty soon, and we will be raiding into them, because they are glorious and they are part of our fabulous stream team, the Rolling Together stream team.
While you are mashing buttons to get into the raffle, please also mash that follow button, so that you'll get alerts when we come back online again. We'll be back in 2 Sundays to continue fleshing out this world that with effort will eventually make its way into your gaming libraries. We also please mash that button to follow us on Twitter, so that you can get alerts when we're getting ready to stream, as well as continue to keep that conversation going.
Absolutely. And we will be live. You can see Adventures in the Patchwork Planet even as we speak, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays each week. And then on Fridays, we also do for the Foundation for Inclusivity in Gaming, we do our Magnificent Mythologies, where we bring on a creator of color and they talk to us about their culture, and then we actually together write a full one-shot adventure based on the story that they are telling. And then the foundation will develop that into a full product, and they get to retain 100% of the rights and 100% of the profits from that. It's the way that we are starting to try to help decolonize the space by giving louder voices to people of color and people who are in the Alphabet Mafia, like yours truly. So thank you for being here and supporting all of us. I am so excited that all of this is coming together. It is just, I am so happy. Connor, thank you so much for being here today. This has just been such a joy. Just, It makes me just so happy. So hey, thank you for the follow, Bearsy Poo. I think, has everybody entered the raffle that's going to enter the raffle? I hope that you have. I sure do. And let's find out who wins. I want to win. I want to win.
Like all of you.
I want some dice. I want all the dice.
Right?
Phantom. Yeah. I think that's the second time you've won in like 2 weeks. Congratulations. You get another set of fabulous dice from Phoenix Dice. That is glorious. Send me another message. I saw your message in Discord. What I'll do is I'll hook you up and I'll let them know that you've won two fabulous sets of dice. And I am going to see if I can't find Bards and Brews there on the intranets so that we can raid into them. This is our first Sunday stream, so we haven't done Sundays before. I normally raid into someone else, so I don't have them lined up right this second. So yes, thank you again for being here and being delightful. And let's see who is up. Let's see what's going on. You know what? I'm gonna refresh because I think it's not popping up because I haven't refreshed in a while. So that's gonna take a second. So can you all like manage to like hang out and be delightful for just a second more? Because I know I can. We can sing some songs, get some copyright strikes, you know, do all those fun things. Everyone loves a copyright strike. We have courted copyright strikes before because I do like to sing random musical theater numbers. But I feel like musical theater artists are not quite as litigious as other people.
Feel free to take all of our $0 by all means.
100%. And when you do, if you can take some of that debt too, perfect. like carry that away with you while you're running off. There's 100% we can do that. I love it. We are refreshed. And I'm gonna see now Bards and Bruce. Let's see if you're on the list. Let's see if they're live yet. Are you live yet? Because I hope you are. I surely do hope that you are. I am not. Oh no, I don't think they're live right now. No. Oh no. You know what? I'm gonna send them a little note on Discord and just be like, hey, where the hell are you? There is give me just a sec. We're trying to raid into you. Where you at? Where you at, boo? What the hell? Come on now. Just need you to pull this together. There's Lando. I might send you out to like our stream team and just be like, hey, so this is what a card is. It's where you put it up, so that if somebody is raiding you, then they have something to raid into, and you still have some time. You can have that card up for 5-10 minutes, no problem. People will hang out, they will chat with each other, all that good stuff. Well, I'm not getting a response right now, so I guess we're gonna raid into somebody else. So let's go hit up Kaz, because I do love Kaz. Kaz is pretty delightful. So yes, we will go and say hi to Kaz the DM, who is glorious. And here at Planet Allies, for those of you who are new, when we go a raiding somewhere, we let them know what we're bringing to the potluck. I personally am going to bring, what should I bring? I'm going to bring a sleeping terrasque to the potluck. So I'm going to bring, Connor, what are you going to bring to the potluck?
I'm going to bring Fairy Rave.
Fairy rape, absolutely. Well, here we go. There it is. And mwah, have a glorious afternoon, everybody.